Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And the feelings that I wanted to talk about today are twofold. Number one, the feelings in terms of feeling more educated about our heart rate, but also about how to increase your energy. All right. And because the two are related once you understand the heart rate thing. All right. Hi there, Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin. And welcome to anybody else who might be watching on the sidelines or in the replay. And for those of you who don't know, Dear Mama Sal is a group of people. We get together 3 times a week to hold each other's hands as we go through life and also to continue to increase our emotional intelligence. That's difficult to read that. Hang on a second. Finn. Hi, Finn. I want to tell you that red is difficult to read against my black background here. So that's why I had to think. And hi, Jocelyn. Good to see you. So here we are, and this group of people, we get together and we talk about different things on different days. Friday lunchtime, we talk about coping with our feelings and increase our emotional intelligence and knowledge that way. Friday evenings, we talk about coping with life, where mostly I'm talking about how to save money in the kitchen, the big kitchen. And I want to tell you this slab, which goes on past where you can see. This slab was a major selling point for me when I came to see this house. It was just like, I can see and obviously there's a slab here because I'm leaning on it. It was like, yeah, I can see myself standing here a lot. And little did I know I was also going to broadcast. The computer is sitting in a cupboard. So, um, and then on Sunday afternoons, we talk about coping with stress. Now, a lot of today's subject is about stress, but I want you to get the feeling of where the difference is, all right? And that's what I want you to do today. Benjamin Franklin said, energy and persistence conquer all things. How many of you agree with it? That if you've got the energy and if you keep at it long enough, you are able, hi Jeannie, you are able to conquer a lot of things. All right. And as we know, because we have watched people go through the good, the bad, and the ugly over the years, that we all have these times. All right. And sometimes the good and sometimes the bad. Jeannie and I both went through house fires. Jeannie then lost her husband, and Jody went through incredibly difficult health issues and still is battling them. So, and I went through cancer and still doing that, and so you look at it all and you go, so where do we get the energy and what is the difference between our heart rate when we are stressed and our heart rate when we are exercising? And the reason I want to talk about that, because one of our viewers, Kimmy, has a pacemaker. And she mentioned it the other week where the doctors said that the pacemaker was working well, but they were concerned about her stress level. And I thought, interesting topic, because how did they know that? How did they know what her stress level was? I mean, other than the fact she probably was pretty stressed on the day that she spoke to them. So I wanted to talk to you about what I've been looking at. Now, as usual, before we get on to the main subject, I wanted to make sure that we update birthdays. So let me do that. Hang on one second. And if I don't mention your birthday, please know it is because it's not in our database. And we are now into, can you believe it's already the middle of April? That is scary, isn't it? Okay, who have we got? Well, we had, what day are we on now? So we had Paul, for those of you who remember Boston Paul, his was on the 12th. And now I don't think we have anybody until May. So if your birthday is in this time slot, just let us know if you're a regular viewer or listener, or if you regularly just listen to the replays, that's also fine. If you are a regular of any sort, just make sure we know your birthdays and your important days so we can acknowledge them. Feeling curious. That's what I was this week. I was feeling curious. And before I get on to the information that I'm going to share with you, I just want to make a disclaimer in case you don't know me. No, I'm not a doctor. No, I'm not anything with a medical anything. Know that I am going to give you information that is freely available to any of you, and that some of the information I got from reputable sites online, and others I got from my Fitbit information. All right, so that's where the information is coming from. And it is important that you understand that. You also need to know I'm on high blood pressure medication. I take a pill every day to keep my blood pressure, because of my age, right? To keep my blood pressure into an acceptable range. So you need to know all of those things, because a lot of what I'm going to talk about is about me, and you need to just make sure that you've got a level playing field here. LL Cool J said, "Dreams don't have deadlines." I love that. I'm thinking of doing bigger and better things and having more fun with it. How many of you, if you don't, get your dreams, achieved in this year, you just drop them? And I love that. Part of energy is going, I didn't do it this year, but now let me see what the next step is, and never let go of those steps. I cannot tell you how important hope and achievement is in your mental health. Those are two things, right? And I'm going to talk a bit about that really hope and achievement are magical. I think, Jody, you would agree with me on that one, right? And I'm also going to talk about what motivates us. And it's really important. So I wanted to just say that thanks, Jocelyn. She's busy telling us what her birthday is. That's awesome. Yeah, Jody, I wondered if you would agree with it. With all that you've been through, and with permission, I'm going to talk a bit more about what you've been through as well. So what the subject is what is the difference? Because that's what Kimmy said. Her heart pacemaker was working well, but they could see she was under stress. Now, how can they tell she's under stress? That is because certain things happen in your body. All right. And that is the difference, because my thing was, wait a minute, what is the difference between my picking up my weights and walking for an hour, holding my weights, pushing my heart rate up? That's meant to be healthy. So if you push your heart rate up with stress, why isn't that healthy? Did any of you wonder that? I know some of you already know the answer, but not everybody does. So I thought I'd talk about it a little bit. My favorite monk said, "Sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy." And so start every morning with a smile. Do whatever you have to do to make yourself smile. Jody and Lionel make sure they have a fun segment to their day every day. It's things that make them laugh, whether it's watching a show that they really enjoy or whatever. So here we go. On Monday, I had the joy of going to dinner with my son Doug and Jess and Damien. And the interesting thing was that that's the first time I've seen them really since I got on this pill that I'm on to kill the estrogen in my body, so that the cancer that was in my body, we hope it's gone, but they don't know, and that's why I have to take this pill. This pill has had detrimental effects to my day-to-day living. And it's the first time they've seen me since I've been on this pill for a while. And they were shocked. I don't mind telling you. They were shocked at my lack of mobility. And, the thing they had to compare it to was after my mastectomy, I was in their house for 10 days. And I was literally getting up and doing things, post-op minus 1 day, if you know what I mean. I mean, it wasn't even 1 day post-op, and I was up and doing things and so forth, and I was putting in 6,000 steps and all sorts of things. And they saw that I was having problems getting in and out of the car, and they saw that I was a lot slower than I was before, and I believe it genuinely shocked them. And so I spent a lot of time just describing to them what this pill has done to my life to change it. And quite honestly, I was feeling weak that day. And that's one of the things that I explained to them. Some days I will have more energy than others. Some days I just can't do anything. And I have to accept that and just curl up in a little ball and rest. Because obviously that's what my body needs while it's fighting all of this. Stephen Richards said, minds are like flowers. They only open when the time is right. So then yesterday, this is the difference. Yesterday, I was digging trenches in my property. So do you understand? Sunday, I was really weak, that I was having trouble getting in and out of cars and doing things, and that requires energy and strength, as Jody will tell you. And then yesterday, I was busy digging trenches. So what I wanted to do, and that obviously pushes my heart rate up, what I wanted to do was to talk about how did the energy change and why is that sort of increase in your heart rate good for you as opposed to the other one, which is bad for you. So to understand all of this, you've got to see what happened between Sunday and yesterday. And what happened was when I got back, Monday, when I got back after my Easter dinner, I really realized that I had been very slow the week before about doing any serious exercise. I'd done some steps, but not enough. And so I realized that I was not putting in the effort it took to make me feel better. How many of you know that whether you know it or not, when you do exercise, your body releases something called endorphins, and they're good for you. And they make you feel good, and they bring you happiness. And, it's just like, it's a really strange thing. And so what was happening was, and I had not done enough to release enough endorphins, and I was too busy dealing in the future of what, if this is how I feel now, what am I going to feel like after a year of this drug, that's called anxiety, because I'm looking forward. And that's what I always say to people. Stay in the present, because if you spend your time in the past, what should have happened and didn't, that's called depression. If you spend your life worrying about the future, that's called anxiety. So if you stay in the present and go, hey, I'm going to enjoy today. I'm going to do the best I can for today. I'm going to look after myself the best I can for today. And I know that Jody has learned this one big time. So what happened was on Wednesday, something happened that made me angry, very angry. And although I kept control and didn't, lash out or do anything like that, my body went into what they call fight or flight. And that is a condition that we naturally have. It came from way back when we were cave people, and when there was a danger, our body gave us a hormone called adrenaline, which helps us decide whether we want to fight, and we need to have, that that feeling that I've got to fight now, feeling, or you have enough adrenaline to run like mad and outrun the danger, hopefully, or outrun at least one other person from in front of the danger, because then the danger will get them, not you. And then so what happened was this thing that happened, and it's not important what happened, but it really sent my blood pressure up. And I knew that as it was happening because I noticed I started to shake like this. Okay. And that only happens to me when my blood pressure gets too high. And I was literally trying to hold a cup of coffee, but my coffee was, looked like it was some sort of ebb and flow of the sea. And I had to sort of catch it at the right time. So it was very worrying, but I knew what was happening. And, knowledge is such an amazing thing about you. If you know what's happening, you can deal with it. So what I kept saying to myself was, this is nearly over for now. Just keep hanging in here. You know what to do when this is over. And once the danger had passed, I went inside and I started to work on what I needed to do. And that's what I want to talk to you about. So the number one thing I know um, is when I push myself into that level, and I want to show you the difference. That's what I thought I would show you. One of these charts is my normal resting heart rate, and I want you to see with exercise. All right, so I want to show you this. This is my resting heart rate. All right, and you will see that there are blips every now and then. Okay, there. Now, this is the second one. Okay, do you see that this is now the blips are going on all the time? Can you see that? And by the way, can you see I went from here right the way up to here? As opposed to here, this is me waking up normally. I wake up like this, and then I think about it for a while, and then I get up, go make coffee, and do things. Sorry. So you understand there's a definite difference in what it looks like. The other thing is, it took me a long time before I got that heart rate under control. I went from a resting heart rate of, as you can see, 61 average to a resting heart rate of 64 average on Wednesday. And this was the previous Wednesday. I tried to do apples and apples, right? This was the previous Wednesday. So what happened was I got threatened and I got upset. When I say I got threatened, something felt dangerous to me. Whether it was or not is irrelevant, but something felt dangerous, and that set off that flight or fight thing. And that set off the hormones of adrenaline that are there to protect me. Does that make sense to everybody? And it was the adrenaline that caused me to shake. Right? There was so much adrenaline in my body that I was shaking. All right. So if you can understand that, then we are well on our way. So what I did, well, actually, let me go back because I had all sorts of notes about here. What did I do as soon as I got away from this situation? Number one, I think you all know me well enough to know that one thing I know is do not keep this anger inside. The anger needs to be outside. All right. The sooner you can get that stuff out of your head with safe people. And I really, really recommend that you have at least a couple of people in your life that you can be totally honest with, and they will not judge you or try and fix you. They will know you are doing what you need to do, which is just throwing up all the negative stuff that is in your brain at the moment, all right, because of the adrenaline rush and everything. And so I naturally had a long chat with Jody. I had a very long chat with Yvonne. But we were texting, and Lauren was involved as well. But basically, what I did is let them know what I was angry about, and let them, they didn't try and fix me. They don't need to. They were sad for me, and they had their own little anger issues about it. But they knew they couldn't fix it, and they didn't get involved in trying to fix it. They did ask how they could help, because that's what friends do, right? So I call them my venting team. And my question is, do you have a venting team? Right? Do you have a venting team? And if you don't, I really recommend, they need to be people who do not constantly try and fix things. But on the other hand, they need to be people that know you really well and know when you are venting because you need to maintain your mental health, all right, as opposed to anything else, right? That they know you well enough, let's put it that way. So the number one thing was I made sure I talked it out. Now, as I said at the top of the cast today, the other thing is get achievement, right? Doing something that brings achievement is very good for settling you down. All right. So the second thing I did was I had a new TV box that had arrived. You remember that after I had the operation, Jess bought me a um, a new television, state of the art. The one I had was state of the arc, ARK, and but the only thing was my TV box in my bedroom was state of the art still. Now, funnily enough, I didn't bother to change it. It was I could get streaming on it, and I was happy. But if you wait long enough, life brings you what you need. And so suddenly my TV provider said, we've upgraded all the fiber optics and stuff in your area. So now you need a new box by May. That's next month. So you could get it for free. In other words, it's already included in your package. And all you have to do is let us know you need it. And this is the number of the box that you should have. Should have. How many of you know that word alone had me worried? And so then they said that you can find out what the serial number is because it's on the back of the box, and it should be this. So I'm going, oh, tell me I've got the right box here. And so what I did, Justin saying, Jackie, is it Jackie Thiessen, like the Jackie Thiessen? No, it can't be. Anyway, so I'm thinking, I hope I got the right box. And how many of you know how difficult it is to get to the back of your TV box, right? And it can't just be me, right? We don't keep those things, with a serial number facing out. You've got to crawl behind things and do, thank goodness for cameras are in our phones, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get it easily. But I managed to get the camera behind and press the right button so that I could see the serial number. So there is a God. It was the right number. My number agreed with their number, and I was so excited. um, so Muffin is asking me, what do you do if you don't have a venting team? Well, you do now. You do now. I want to assure you that any of the names, that you see in the chat here are people that will be more than willing to be on your venting team. All right. And so, and you know how to, well, if you don't know, Jody will give you the link, but feel free to write to me anytime. All right. At DearMamaSal@gmail.com. And she will put that up for you. But the thing is, I would, either Jody or myself, or, it is so important to have people who understand what's going on. That's interesting. Jody's saying Lionel, her husband, snaps a pic of the serial numbers of any technology item we bring into the house. Comes in very handy when talking to customer service. Yes, I do have the rest of them. And Jody, you'll please tell Lionel, I did do that with the new one coming in. Before I hooked it up, I went, let me get that information right now. So we did that. And so, Jody is just making sure that everybody knows that's why we're here. That's why we started Dear Mama Sal, was everybody would have their own venting team if they needed it. But you don't have to do it publicly. You can do it privately. All right. So you know how to get hold of me now, and Jody will pass on, and if you want to talk to Jody, either I can give you that link or Jody will give it to you quietly in the background somehow, because she's very good at it. All right. So here we go. But you have a venting team. The most important thing is to know that you need one. Right? Because when you keep that anger inside your head, can you imagine what it does to your mental health? And when you think about it, it's just this one thing that has triggered you. And that's what I call it, being triggered. And this one thing has triggered you, and it has a good reason to trigger you at some level, rational or otherwise, doesn't matter. At some level, it puts you into a level of fear. And my feeling, and by the way, what is fear? one of two things, right? There are two things in our lives, either love or fear. And everything in between is a derivative of that, all right? So jealousy, anger, or whatever, all part of that fierce box, if you like. And then everything to do with love, kindness, compassion, all that is part of the love box, if you like. So when you understand that, and when you understand that totally, it's very easy to work out what you need to do. So I knew that I was in need, number one, to talk it out, to make sure I got all my anger out and not feel, that I needed to be brave or that I might be considered a wuss. I know Jody knows I'm no wuss. All right. So, it's just like Yvonne, she certainly knows I'm no wuss. Um, All right. So I've got a comment here that says, um, I've always felt hesitant about reaching out and making my problems other people's. That is why we are here. That's why I started Dear Mama Sal, is that people would have a safe place to sort out their problems if they wanted to. However, you do need to give us permission of one thing. And that is, if we think you are BSing yourself on something, that that it's okay that we tell you our truth. It might not be the absolute truth, as far as you can see it, but with our knowledge, can we, with I call it my velvet 2x4. All right, where I need to hit you across the head with it just to wake you up and make you see. Wait a minute. I understand where you're coming from, but where I'm coming from, this is what I see. And because it's very important that we get that balance every now and then, and it helps us out of the place we're in. And I must admit that my vent team does that to me very nicely. Bubble wrap 2x4, Jody says. All right. All right. Neil Donald Walsh said, if you want the best the world has to offer the world your best. And I would say that is a really good quote to have up on your mirror every morning that you look at it. So regardless of whether you're feeling good, bad, or indifferent, if you want the best the world has to offer today, then make sure you give it your best today. And as I have found, and Jody has found, sometimes my best is not very active, but I am aware that it is the best that I can do. And if I can only tidy up, one thing, then that's my best, and that's okay. So remember that I was still shaking with adrenaline as I'm trying to fit the TV box together. Now then, how many of you know that the instructions make a lot of sense to the person who wrote them, who actually understands what they're talking about? For example, they said, connect the HDMI cable. Well, it was pretty good because they did have it marked HDMI cable. But, in the back of my television, there were 3 slots. Now, which one of those 3 does it go in? It didn't say into any HDMI slot. It just said, now I'm going, what if it's the wrong one? How many of you know that feeling? What if I'm about to connect it to the wrong one? And then my voice said, well, you'll find that out because it won't work. Wow. Oh, that's so cute. All right. So I had a feeling that I knew this person. So Jack saying that, that I hit her with the 2x4 many years ago. And because of it, and my tactics, right, are always welcome. All right. I'd like to think tactics somehow for me is a manipulative word. No, not really, is it? That's just my stuff. Okay. So here I was still shaking. And as I'm trying to put this thing together, so, I'm going, will this fit in here? And I managed to get it in. And then it said, you got to make sure everything's working before you turn the television on. And I couldn't remember if I turned the television off to start with, and then which of the remotes do I use now? All these sort of things, it was really quite funny. And you know me, that when I'm doing something like this, I laugh at myself a lot. I find myself very amusing because it's really quite pathetic when I'm dealing with this sort of stuff. But what about the rest of you? Trying to install something like this. And then I went, okay, fine, here's the moment of truth. And I literally, I found out I had to get my old thing to make it work. So I I pressed the button and the television came on. I was so excited. Now that is excitement. With joy brings out different hormones, right? So we're going to talk about that in a second. So it was really quite amazing. And I was going, the little kid in me was so happy that I had actually done it. And I went, I wonder if I got all the channels and everything. So I, played around, and yeah, it went out of streaming and into regular television and did all the things it was meant to do. And the quality of the picture was much improved. And I'm going, I did it. I did it. And that is another element of bringing down that adrenaline. And number one is make sure you vent. Number two, make sure you get some achievement in, because it will balance out those hormones, right? And giving me joy and achievement gave me um, gave me peace. All right. The next thing I knew is I needed to rest. Even if I didn't feel like it right now, I wanted to carry on, trying to fix problems. I went, no, you don't need to fix the problems today. You've got the rest of your life to fix these problems. So what you need to do is rest. You don't have to sleep, but you do have to rest. And now that the cable box is connected, stay on your bed and rest. Don't go and, I thought, well, I can do that in the living room. No, in the living room, you can see the kitchen. The kitchen will, or the dining room you'll be looking at it thinking you need to tidy something up. Stay on your bed. And you can stay there for the rest of the day, because you need to depressurize yourself. Have any of you been in that state? And so what I did was, I've got a bit of a problem with my automatic bed at the moment that I hope will be fixed tomorrow. But when we were redoing that bedroom light a couple of, what was it, 10 days ago, or 2 weeks ago, when we were redoing the bedroom light, which works beautifully, by the way, somehow or other, we messed up something on my automatic bed. I got one of those beds that goes up and down. And luckily, whatever went wrong when the bed was in the sleeping position. Thank goodness. My feet are elevated, and my head is at zero gravity type angle. So luckily it went wrong at that angle. If it had gone wrong when it was sitting straight upright, I'd be having major problems. So I thought, well, I know that Yvonne and Wade are coming tomorrow, so we can get under there and find out what's been disconnected. And obviously it got disconnected when we moved the bed to do the light, and that's fine. So I went to bed and I stayed there for 18 hours. Can you imagine that? Stayed there for 18 hours. That takes, for anybody who knows me, I don't do that. All right. And of the 18, I only slept for 5. But I knew my body was rested. I hadn't pushed it unnecessarily. I had just let everything calm down and, be at peace. I wonder what my heart rate looked like. That's a good question, isn't it? Let's have a look. See if I can find that for you. That was... That would be the end of... Oh. Yeah, that would be here. All right. Where I got angry. I discussed it. By the way, this gap here isn't because I stopped breathing. It is because I charged the watch. And then you can see that I just rested. And obviously I got up again and started to do things round about midnight. And that would have been take my medicine and do stuff like that. Make sense? Okay. So the good news is that when I got up on Thursday, all right, life was magical. I felt totally different. I felt so much better. And I already had answers to some of the problems that had come up the day before. And I also knew that I didn't have to fix them immediately. Sorry, I'm just getting my quotes back up here. So that's a very important thing, all right? Not to over stress yourself the next day. Jody's making the comment because processing takes time. So what I did was I said, I am only allowed to concentrate on 3 things. This was yesterday. Only allowed to concentrate on 3 things. My to-do list can be as long as it likes, but I'm closing the day timer after I've got the top 3 things and put them somewhere where I can see them. Now, Jody will tell you, because she was part of this, taking my meds was the top thing, right? And I don't think I got there until about 2:00. It was just like I kept getting distracted. And I'm certain some of you know this one as well. Every time I went to go and take my meds, something distracted me. And then, the next thing distracted me. Now, I love the fact that we've got one of our viewers that has ADHD, and she talks about this to me and doesn't realize that I totally understand her issue. I totally understand her issue. And so by the time I actually got to taking my meds, I was so proud of myself. So proud of myself. It was just amazing. But the other thing I noticed was the sun was shining. Now, you probably don't think that's a big thing in April, but I want to tell you, here in British Columbia, we've had a week of rain, and it's still going to go on till the end of the month, apparently, enough that I had to cancel my camping trip with Marnie. We were going to go camping together. And so the thing was, it was just like, the sun is shining. Now, I took that as a little bit of a message because I do that. And I went, I am not wasting that sunshine. So I got up, as I know, I took my meds, did that. And then I went, okay, now I'm going outside. I call it my fresh air time. And I work on doing that twice a day, where I go outside and get fresh air. And so I enjoyed it. And what I did was start doing something that worked on the problem that I had managed to get on Wednesday. So I was taking a step in the right direction on that problem. And also, the other thing I did was call for help. Because that was important. I knew what I needed to achieve. I might not be able to do on my own. And so Yvonne and Wade offered to come and help me on Saturday. Do you understand? So all these things are now in place. And really, that was all I had to do yesterday. But I did so much more. I did so much more. Why? Because when you use energy, you gain energy. Have you noticed that? If you sit like a slug on the couch and feel sorry for yourself, there are days when that has to happen, but it doesn't fill you full of energy. The funny thing is, when you are achieving things, when you are doing things, that gives you those right hormones. So let me just go back a step here, and let's just talk about those 2 different sets of hormones, all right? So I'm going to quote. The first one is from Harvard. And it's talking about what happens when we get into that fight or flight thing. So Harvard University says these glands respond to danger, all right, by pumping the hormone epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, into the bloodstream. Epinephrine circulates through the body and it brings about a number of physiological changes. Remember this? The heart beats faster than normal, pushing blood to the muscles, heart, and other vital organs. Got it? So, it's you don't control it. You can't create it. It's something that happens that makes you fearful and creates that. Now, I'm pretty sure that all of you have been in a situation where you know that feeling. You normally start breathing, in the top of your chest. You're not breathing properly, which is why they always say breathe, because the idea is to get more oxygen in. You're not getting a lot of oxygen in when you're in that state, which is why I rested for so long. I wanted to make sure I was rested and calm. And then if you go on the other side, and we're talking now about the good stuff, when you exercise, your body releases chemicals called endorphins. Now, you've all heard about those, I'm sure. These endorphins interact with the receptors in your brain to reduce your perception of pain. Interesting that they say perception. Endorphins also trigger a positive feeling in the body, similar to that of morphine. Now, what it's saying is that the more you do to release endorphins, whether it's laugh, be happy, get exercise, any of those things that release endorphins, all right, basically are painkillers. Isn't that amazing? Did you all know that? And can you see that that is something over which you have some control? You can do something. You can go out and get some exercise, or you can stay in, as I have proven, and get exercise. Now, I know that I have a healthy heart, touch wood, still have. In fact, I'm in a very high percentage. It's not even just a little bit. Even though I had high blood pressure, with the medications I've gotten, all that I'm doing, I have a healthy heart. So is it possible to improve? If you've got something that's not working very well, can you improve it? Absolutely, if you do the work, as Jody will tell you. All right. The other thing is this. You understand, I went outside to use some energy, burn off some of that negative energy, all right, but also take in a lot of oxygen. And that is where the key is, if you can understand this. We have no control over the danger, but when we exercise, the body calls for more oxygen, right? Hello, you're doing stuff. I need more oxygen. So you breathe more. And it is that is pushing up your blood pressure in exercise. It is not a negative thing. It is your heart saying, okay, you're doing great work now. I need more oxygen. So it's really just and when it gets more oxygen, it's a happy little camper. The other thing is, you will notice that I cut down my to-do list down to just 3 things yesterday. Why? I knew I still needed to be as calm as possible, because my health is more important to me than any going on outside of me. Remember, that's my number one thing. All right. My health is more important to me than whatever is going on externally. So staying angry, doing too much, all those sort of things are detrimental to my health. So I'm not going to go there. The good news is that I was way ahead on my steps anyway. So I didn't feel guilty about not putting any steps in yesterday, because I actually went out and got fresh air, and I was digging a trench slowly. I do a bit, then I come in and rest, and I go back and dig a little bit more and do it. Very interesting way. So do you now understand the difference between the two, right? External stress creates creates the push of adrenaline, and it's the adrenaline that drives up the heart rate, and it's not good. And it takes a long time to leave the body, as you all know. The good news is that endorphins we can create, and that's what we need, and they're good for our body. So if you can see the difference between those two, then hopefully you can understand that we go back to our original comment. Feelings are with us, therefore we have control. I know we don't want control necessarily, but feelings are with us. All right. There are things that's the most simple way I can say it. Whatever you are feeling is your reaction to something that's happening in your world. Therefore, if it's your reaction, it's your feeling, be it anger, humor, whatever, you are seeing it through your eyes. You are seeing it through your knowledge, through your experience, through whatever. But it does mean that you have the ability to correct it. And I think that to me was the most incredible thing to know. I know what to do. All right. I know what to do to fix this. There is no maybe about this. I know exactly what to do. Why? Because I've been telling you about it. I just pressed the wrong button again. Hold on a second, people. I just need to find my. Here we go. It's if you know what to do, it helps. Jody, I want to go on a little bit into what happened to you. Can you understand? I went from being so weak I could hardly get in and out of a car on Sunday to digging trenches on Thursday. And how do you fix that? You fix it by the steps that I took. All right. But does it also make sense? And this is what I want you to think about, that I had a need. And my need was greater than my weakness. Jody knows about this. Number 2, I had motivation. I wanted to feel better. I knew that staying angry was not going to help me one bit. I knew that feeling vengeful or, whatever wasn't going to help me one bit. Doing stuff was going to help me. And number 3, it was a beautiful day. And I took that as a gift, not to be wasted. So now I want to go back to Jody's story, if you remember, about Jody and the truck. Jody, this must be ringing some bells with you as well, right? So remember that Jody was so incapacitated with her illness that she couldn't get into a truck. But then she got into a situation where she had to get into a truck, and if she didn't, she was going to have to spend the money to buy a special car, that would take her, what can I say, her wheelchair. All right. But it was a long trip, so it was going to be very expensive. So she had high motivation not to want to do that. She had a need and high motivation to get into the truck. And by the way, Jody, how was getting into the truck yesterday? Okay, thank you. She's reminded me. She needed a van with an electric wheelchair lift. So, that's expensive. And to do a long trip with one of those vans is even more expensive. So she had high motivation to get into the truck. And that suddenly gave you energy, Jody. True? You understand what I'm talking about here. Jody's busy saying, by the way, what you did is impressive, Sal. It's an inspiration to me in helping me in my turnaround time. Yeah, it is not about what others do. It's about what are you going to do to help yourself, right? And that is what you did to get into the truck, Jody. So, hello. I did no more than you did. But I did know what to do. There's no doubt in my mind. I knew what to do. And so what I'm hoping that you all understand from these examples is it is not what happens to us, it's how we process what happens to us. Interesting. Okay, Jody, in the meantime, has done some work. She said, we had a ride yesterday through the insurance. That's right. We have a limited number of trips that they will cover. I didn't think I'd be able to get into the truck after the MRI. Good thinking. Yeah, because being on the metal table for the MRI would have been very painful for her. I think that was very clever thinking myself. I really do. I think it's very, very clever thinking. Very clever. And good use of that ride. Okay. And that's what you're doing now. You're making decisions. So my question to you all is, do you understand the process? We cannot control what happens on the outside. How angry I got was within my control. All right. How angry I got was within my control. Now, the funny thing was, I managed to be talking to somebody that was fairly logical, which made the whole thing quite different for me. But every now and then, the person that doesn't have logic was chirping in and driving my blood pressure up. I allowed it to happen. I know. But the interesting thing was, I came to realize that this is going to keep happening. And I will talk to you a bit more about this, because this problem in my community here that I have created is really quite hysterical. And the funny thing was, I said, if you are insisting on this on my property, are you insisting on it? This was to the manager, on every other property. There are over 100 units here, 100 retirement homes here. Are you insisting on it for everybody? And the answer was no, only to the people who cause problems. There was something about when I heard that, I just went, wow. I wonder if she realizes she just admits she is harassing me with those words. um, and I wrote them down very carefully. But it was really quite funny, because that made me, inside, I actually started to laugh when I heard that. And I went, okay, so I am correct. I'm being harassed. But I also decided I'm going to do what they're asking me to do, regardless. Even, if I take it to arbitration or whatever, I'm going to do what they want me to do, because I am responsible for my behavior. And if I keep abiding with what they tell me, no major thing, all right? No major thing, but now I know I am being harassed. And, I've got it all documented, so I've got a history of it. And so I have the right to go to arbitration. And so I did, I really started to chuckle a little bit, because I went, really, this is getting to be quite funny. But I did get nearly a whole year without being harassed, so it's improving. And by the way, I did get a proper letter warning me of an inspection. And for those of you who've got a sense of humor, the only thing that she could really have an issue about was the fact that my little greenhouse was slightly off center. It wasn't standing straight. And, I nearly burst out laughing, and I went, boy, I must have cleaned up well if that's the best you can do. So here's the thing. I like this. Kevin Ansborough said, focus on an ocean of positives, not the puddle of negatives. All right? Not the puddle of negatives, right? So I went, I'm going to do what they want me to do. And I'm not going to see it as nasty. I'm going to go, okay, fine, I can do this. And I'm going to do it well. All right? I'm going to do it well. I'm not even going to do the bare minimum. How many of you can understand that, I could do it with anger and go, well, I'll do the very least I can do. And I'm going to do a beautiful job here. And when I've finished, I'm going to have a really pretty garden. And because Yvonne and Wade will help me do that. So Marcus Aurelius, who is way back when, in the very old ages, he said, when you arise in the morning, think of what precious privilege it is to be alive. to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. How many of you know there was a moment yesterday when I was trying to settle everything down that I thought, I wonder if I should do the broadcast, because that requires that I do a lot of work. It takes me hours to put the broadcast together. So you can probably, I'm certain Jody was waiting for me to say I'm canceling the broadcast tomorrow. And probably was quite surprised that I didn't. And actually, she didn't even check to find out, was I thinking of doing it, which is unusual. But, I just went, no rush. It was on my list, actually, of the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to do the broadcast. Why? Because I wanted to talk about the thing that Kimmy had said. You see, so many of the topics that I talk about are because one of the viewers has shared a problem. And I could hear her confusion when she said, my pacemaker's working well, but apparently I need to reduce my stress, because they could see it. And I could almost feel her confusion. Jody's saying, I knew you were going to put it together. It's what you do with such grace. Now, I haven't, there have been times when the illness has affected me and I haven't been able to do it. But you do know, for me to cancel a broadcast goes against my grain. It's against who I am. I in my own way, I live to do the broadcast because I know it helps people. So if there's any way I possibly can do it, I will. And there's some days where I just don't have the mental capacity to do it. The pill takes a lot of my energy. Napoleon Hill said that whatever your mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. So I knew a lot of getting my energy back was about doing the right things and to see myself doing the broadcast. And then what I did, listen to this one. Some of you will love this. I started to, I do things in rotation. All right. So what I did was, okay, that trench is going to be difficult to dig. But funny enough, the first couple of spades full, I had to move some railway ties. That was part of the problem. To do that, I needed to dig them out and then move them. Make sense? So the first thing I needed to do was to remove the amount of earth that I needed to move to give my neighbor a foot of extra, 18 inches of extra space. So I needed to dig the railway ties out, and that's why I had to dig this trench, because and they said I had to remove the pea gravel that was there. So that went down about a foot, right? So that's what I was digging out. But funny enough, it was easier to dig out than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't solid earth, and it wasn't heavy with all the rain because it was pea gravel. So basically, it was pretty easy to move as long as I didn't try to do too much. How did I make sure I didn't do too much at a time? I took my smallest spade, shovel, whatever you call it here. All right, I took the smallest one. I mean, I don't mean my trowel, but I mean, I've got some spades that are this big, shovels, that are this big. I took one that was about this big to make sure I didn't carry too much. Make sense? I made sure I didn't carry too much. The other thing was I didn't have to do it all. I knew that Wade was coming to do it on Saturday. So you're probably asking, well, if Wade's coming to do it, why are you doing it? Well, first of all, I wanted to make sure I didn't abuse my friends. All right? They were coming to do other things as well. So I didn't want to abuse their time. And if I'm capable of doing it, and if the sun is shining, and it's actually much easier to do than I thought, why wouldn't I? Because I knew it was helping rinse my body of the adrenaline. I hope I'm making sense in all of this. So what I did was I got really clever, I thought, which is I went out and I enjoyed the sunshine and I was busy singing songs to myself as I did it. I moved the first railway tie and went, that's 1/3 done. Like dinner, and I did it in less than an hour. So then I came in and I wrote to Yvonne and said, okay, I took pictures so I could show, just tell Wade I'm 1/3 through. but hopefully he can help me level stuff. And I've got the level, and so show willing. And I said, it's actually not that hard at all because I've just done a third. And then I said, well, now I've got to rest a bit, to get the adrenaline back, not the adrenaline, but to get the heart rate down again. So I said, a great time to start the broadcast stuff. Normally I do it in the evening while I'm binge watching something. I went, okay, it's 2:00 and I'm going to start the broadcast stuff. And so what I did is I used the resting time to start writing this program. Does that make sense that it was smart? So then I had this rotation, dig some, come in, get something to eat, or a smoothie or something, go and sit at the computer, do whatever you needed to do, and then write a bit of the broadcast. And then when I needed thinking time, guess what? Okay. Out into the fresh air, dig a bit more. When you get tired, stop, come back in, get another something to drink because you want to replace the fluids. All right. And then go sit at the computer and do a bit more of the broadcast. And within no time at all, I had it all done. No, I haven't done all the trench. I've got 2/3 of the trench done now. But guess what I'm going to do this afternoon? Because as I talk to you right now, it's still a sunny day. And if it's still sunny when I finish the broadcast, which will be pretty soon, then, I will go out there and dig some more. And then I'm going to plant the most beautiful rose garden in all that earth that I have now moved. Or actually, a lot of it is pea gravel. But I'm going to put my roses back on top of there, and I'm going to have a rose garden, which will look really magnificent there. And I'm really looking forward to that. Rhonda Brown said, life is not happening to you. Life is responding to you. And that is something I talked to Yvonne about. And I said to Yvonne, think deeply for me or with me. I said, what have I done in my life that has brought all this on? It's like, what did I do that brought on the cancer? What did I do? Well, that probably people would say you smoked. Well, hello, everybody did in my generation. But not everybody got cancer, and so we know that isn't necessarily the reason. And so then you go, and here I came to retire quietly. And anybody who knows me I just wanted to be a good person and make friends and do nice things for people. And what happened? And so I look at it and go, this is all here to teach me stuff. And quite honestly, it is teaching me a lot. Can you see that I'm getting lots of practice and controlling my emotions? Yeah. Jodi's saying that's really something to think deeply on. Life is responding to us, not happening to us. All right. So that's why I gave that, funny enough, Jodi, I gave that a lot of thought. And I went, well, obviously, the lessons that I really need to learn in this last phase of my life, if you like, is I need to learn more about keeping control of my emotions and how not to let them get away from you. Jax, if you're still there, I'm thinking, you've been through so much and you've overcome so much in your life, that I am certain whatever it is that you need help with will not be a major issue at all. So feel free either to talk about it now or to write to us, and so we can hold your hand on it. But if it's something that you don't mind discussing, we will gladly deal with it right now or start dealing with it. Jodi's saying it puts the responsibility back on us, which is what we can work on and control in a positive way. And that's why I was saying, Jodi, that, the anger was on the outside and I let it in. All right. It was my reaction to what was being said that caused me my blood pressure to rise. Make sense? And I knew that because of that, I had the ability to get it back down again because I knew what to do. Some of you would have meditated. Some of you would have prayed a lot. Some of you would have done it different ways, and that's fine. Just know how to get your blood pressure down when you get triggered. And by the way, just because I got triggered, does it mean I'm out of control or whatever? No, I'm certain the people I was talking to were triggered as well. I'm certain it wasn't one way. And funny enough, I kept saying, I'm so sorry that this is happening. I was. It was truthful. I am so sorry that this is happening. It was not what I came to do. It was to make trouble. But I stand up for my rights. And the other thing is, I got a lot of extra information, one way and another, about how I was being harassed. So that's all going to be in my document, right? So it says here, be a positive energy trampoline. Absorb what you need and rebound more back. In other words, I took in that negative energy and it weighed me down. But then I used that energy. Remember how I said that Benji always said to me, that because I always was fascinated how Benji on the outside does not appear to let anything bug him at all. And he said, when he gets angry, and he does, when he gets angry, he uses that energy to clean, right? He will clean his house when he is angry, all right? I mean, he cleans it naturally because that's what he does. He's a very neat person. But when he is really angry, he uses that energy. So, and I could feel that going on. I'm going, oh, I'm obviously going to do quite a bit of cleaning this week or doing stuff. Wow, isn't that nice? Jax is saying to me, and I do know Jax, by the way, I know her well. She said, if you need help trenching and stuff, I can come and help if you. I would love to see you. Jax, I would love to see you. You know that. And did you ever have you have my telephone number? Because we used to speak on the phone. My telephone number is the same, but you can contact me through Facebook or whatever. All right. Let's get together and have, coffee or whatever. Maybe dinner. Maybe you come and have dinner with me one day. I've been following, what you've been up to. That's why I said, are you the, that's why I wanted to make sure I got the right person, because, we got history. We go way back. So, and there is another human being that's been through hell and back again. Been through hell and back again. And yet is still prepared to keep learning. And still prepared, because otherwise why else would she be in the room? And still prepared to keep working on herself. And knows that it will be a lifelong journey. You can't just fix it in a weekend or something. One of my favorite people to quote is Steve Maraboli, and he said, once your mindset changes, everything on the outside will change along with it. Can you understand that? I realized in that moment that I could now choose whether to fight this thing with all the anger that I had, or I could actually use that energy to actually do exactly what they asked and do it with good grace and do it better than they expected and well within the time limit they gave me, and then get on with my life. Whether I wanted to take this to arbitration was a whole different story, but I wanted to double check one more time before I did that, whether legally who was meant to give me that information at the get-go. I was never given it. I know I'm not at fault here. I was never given the right information. All right. So this is like somebody should have given it to me, and I never got it. You see, and that in a court of law is going to be the issue. Was she ever given the right information? And if not, then why are you punishing her? You just make sure the next person that goes into this space has the right information. I'm pretty sure that's what they will say. My next thing is, do I take it to arbitration or do I take it to a lawyer? and go, I think this is harassment and I'd like recompense, because I can now prove it's harassment. I wasn't able to prove that before. Healing takes time, and so does not healing. Choose how you spend your time wisely. You see, you understand my point, which is I'm going to let go of the anger completely, and I'm going to do what they ask, and I'm going to do it well. And I'm going to get help in case I can't do it on my own in the time. And that's coming tomorrow. And possibly Jax will come and help me as well, do some other stuff. But the thing is, I don't have to dwell on it. All right, it's under control. Once it feels under control, do you understand what happens to your tension? And that's why sitting down quietly and thinking what steps need to happen, what questions do I need answered next? And I immediately wrote and let the association know there was another step in this process, so they are aware as well. And I look at it and go, in a way, there were a lot of positive steps that were taken on Wednesday. They don't realize it, but there were a lot of positive ones just by what happened. Yeah, Jax is saying sometimes life is just out of your control and bad things happen. And I believe, she says, that bad is there to not only teach you, but also to help you teach others. Obviously, the word according to Sal, right? Because that's what I do with Dear Mama Sal, is I talk about our lives and what's happening to us, and in each case try and find a lesson for us all. How many of you understand the high blood pressure thing is a lesson to us all? If you don't learn to control your anger, you will create a lot of issues for your heart. I, funny enough, have done enough work on myself that my heart is considered to be extremely healthy. But the reason I am on blood pressure medication is because of my age. They're inclined to do that because, and I've got a history of smoking, and in other words, I have a predisposition to a stroke or a heart attack because of my background. But now it's just like, hey, I'll do what the doctor tells me, even though I believe I have a fairly healthy heart. In fact, better than fairly healthy. And think about it. Would I be able to do 10,000 steps a day if I, didn't have a fairly healthy heart? Okay, would I be able to do hey, I'm doing really well with those weights, people. Oh, Jax is saying, I feel blessed that I stumbled across your live. And thank you, Sal. Is there part of you, Jax, that is kicking yourself and saying, I always knew I could contact her and she would never have complained? I mean, in all honesty, you know me pretty well. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Jax, I'm thinking about it going, boy, you knew me well enough to know I've spent my life doing this, Jax. You knew me way before any of the people in this room. Hi, Jeannie. Good to see you. So, you look at it and you go, what stopped you was you, not me. Sharing your problems with Sal was something you thought twice about? Really? Your stuff, not mine. You scared yourself off that one, or you didn't really want the answers that I might give you. I hope you're chuckling now. Positive thoughts, words, and actions create positive feelings. Positive feelings generate positive energy. Make sense? Now, can you understand, thinking about all of this, there's part of me that is seriously wondering whether, even though I now know I am I've confirmed that I am right, whether I just want to let this whole issue go. Even though, I've lost part of my driveway, even though, da, 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 what if I just let the whole lot go and get on with my life? Then some people will say, but then they will have won. Yeah, but what if I let that go? I know they're wrong. But on the other hand, what I'm going to do is to go and find out whether I am legally right. Because if I am legally right, I mean serious legally right, then maybe it's worth going to a lawyer. Arbitration, I won't get much. I will just get the right of knowing that they ruled with me. But if I'm legally right, maybe I take it to a lawyer and say, as long as I am correct by the law, until, and I need to know the truth on that one. Why don't I, should I be going after some sort of recompense? I did say, if you're taking away that much of my land that I thought was mine and part of my driveway, I'm presuming I'll get a rent decrease. No. I said, why? Because you've lowered the value of my property by quite a bit. You see, and this is all what I'm thinking about legally. This will be an issue. And therefore, maybe I do need to take it to a lawyer rather than just arbitration. Winston Churchill said, attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. You understand, if we go back through the rules that we know about, right? I've got the rest of my life to make that decision. I understand that this is mine. I still have the next move. And I understand that if I do take this to the next step, that they will retaliate and make my life even more difficult if they possibly can. I understand all of that. They've already said they are working at getting rid of me, and the way they will work to get rid of me is any way they can, because I am a nuisance to them. I query things, and I ask for the correct things to be done. Abraham Hicks said, everything you believe affects everything that comes to you. So I could choose, knowing all of this, I could choose not to do anything. And some people will say that that's being a wuss or whatever. Or I could pray really hard that my neighbor moves and my next neighbor has a different mentality. But all these things are in the air. I don't have to fix them. So here we go. Lao Tzu said that if you are depressed, you're living in the past. And if you're anxious, you're living in the future. Remember I said that? If you're at peace, then you are living in the present. How many of you feel that I'm feeling fairly zen right now? And if so, what gives that away? I wonder what my heart rate is. All right. So, that's so cute. Jax is saying, I'll be there to help 1,000%. Good. I'm on a mission on something, Jax, that you can really help me with. It won't take long. With your energy, it won't take long. So what a wonderful gift to me. Not only did I get a new viewer come out of the woodwork, but it's somebody I know and love dearly. Who's telling me that she wondered about whether she could share her troubles with me. I mean, hello. That is 100% your stuff, Jax. And I'm certain you're laughing because you know you're not going to get away with that one. And she's saying, boy, did we ever have history. Yeah. The past has already gone. The future is not here yet. The only moment for you is to live. And that came from the Buddha. You see, the past is already gone, and the future is not here yet. There is only one moment for you to live, and it's this one. How many of you can see that I got sucked in a little bit with what happened, but I really got control of it pretty fast. It was amazed me how long it took the adrenaline to drop, even though I was doing the right things. And I knew I was doing the right things, which made me wonder whether or not I was still processing and didn't realize it. When I thought I was through the processing, that maybe there was still this energy going on and the adrenaline was still just, it wasn't quite gone yet. And so that to me is amazing. And will it still be there to some degree until I've decided what I want to do next? Yep, but I don't have to decide that today. I will have lots of discussions with lots of different people before I make that decision. Norman Vincent Peale said, the more you lose yourself in something bigger than yourself, the more energy you will have. Jax knew me at the time of my life where I donated, I think, 25, 26 years more, to helping young people learn about leadership. And she was on one of the courses along with Benji and Doug, and not together, but that's how I met Benji and Doug and Cisco and everybody else. And I also met Jax and Marnie. Also, all these people came because I donated my time. And she will tell you that I spent 12 months of the year donating my time one way or another to the young people, because I either met them or I was helping them for the rest of the year. And by the way, Marnie, I met when she was 18. And I know she's well into her 40s now. And so, it was a gift that never stopped giving, both ways. Not only did I never stop giving to them, but they never stopped giving back to me. And there are times, for example, when Doug came to pick me up for Easter. And did I tell you an incredible story? An absolutely incredible story. He came to pick me up, and there were tears in my eyes when he did that, because it just went, how kind of him to do this. And then when I got to the house, Jess had made roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, or was in the process of doing that. Roast beef, a big chunk of raw meat. Jess is a vegan, or very close to it. So for her to cook a slab of raw meat, can you imagine the love in that? Can you imagine the love it must have taken for her to cook me a raw slab of meat? Big one, not just a slice. I'm talking about a roast. And of course, I got to take a whole lot home. And her son, Damien, had never had Yorkshire pudding. So I taught him Auntie Yvonne's way of eating Yorkshire pudding, where you dig a hole in that Yorkshire pudding and then pour the gravy in. He had seconds. That worked for him really well. And Jax is saying, I love you and I miss you, and you have made my day. Well, I assure you, the feeling's mutual, because you would have seen it in my eyes. Always be aware and always beware of the people you allow in your energy space. Some may contaminate your energy, as happened to me on Wednesday, to a point of no return. No, that didn't happen. Meditate, stay prayed up. I think it is really important, as something happened to one of my viewers this week. And she was talking to me about it. And what had happened in a nutshell was, some time ago, one of her family members at Christmas time had actually stolen from the family members. Literally, there were gift cards given and stuff like that. And she very quietly and surreptitiously stole those credit cards, those gift cards. And then the thing was, she was never going to be allowed back in the house. Well, she got invited back for Easter by my viewer's mother. And so what I said to the viewer was, how do you feel about that? And luckily it went pretty well. And I made sure that before it happened that my viewer, locked up anything that was of value to her. Lock your bedroom door, make sure she can't get in there, and put anything that's of value to you in your bedroom. And so this is like, what I realized was that my viewer now has grown and understands that this drama was invited back into the house. And I said, who invited this person back in? Because the last I heard, she was not allowed back in. Well, it turned out that the aunt had invited her into somebody else's house, said, oh, it's past now. And I said, no. Somebody with those sort of addictions that they steal to just feed their addiction, that is not past. Now, if she's 10 years clean, maybe it's past, but right now, no. And I said, so obviously you've learned the lesson, but your mommy hasn't. So it is time for you to teach your mommy about bringing drama into the house. How many of us do things that bring drama into our lives? Can you understand? The more I fight what is going on, the more drama I'm creating. But that's what made me think maybe it's time to go to a lawyer and let a lawyer deal with the drama. Does that make any sense? I don't need to deal with it. That's what lawyers are for. And I've got most of the paperwork done. And maybe it could work to my advantage. However, what came to my mind was a piece of advice I was given by a lawyer when I was in my 20s. And he said to me, somebody did something and I knew it wasn't right. And I said, I got to take them to court on this one. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, Sal, let me give you a piece of advice and don't ever forget it. I said, okay. He said, there is only one thing ever guaranteed. Right? Only one thing ever guaranteed in a court case. And I said, what's that? And he said, the lawyers will make money. Because win or lose, they will get paid. And I said, good thinking. So all through my life, I remembered not to go the lawyer route unless it is really, essential. Like I had to go to a lawyer to get divorced or whatever, So Jeannie's saying, why not go to a professional for this? And I'm very seriously thinking to do that. And by the way, I do have some professionals that, will probably do this for me at a less than full rate. So it is, I think what I'm going to do, what I decided was that I would send them the information and ask for an opinion. Do they think this is strong enough to fight? And should I? Would it be their recommendation that I should? Knowing they know me and they know my history, and knowing that I don't have the energy to, or the money, to have an expensive lawsuit. And if it goes wrong, what will I be in for? You've got to think about that. If it rules against me, then I would have to pay their lawyers' fees and everything. All right. So you understand that there's a risk there. And again, I quote another one, which says, when you wish good things for others, good things come back to you. This is the law of nature. But I think it may be time for me to wish good things to myself. And I am aware that all this is my choice. I choose whether to continue the drama or not. And I must admit, I was amused that they couldn't find, and even the owner said to me, your yard is very tidy. I like that. All right, so Jeannie's saying start with yourself on this matter. What do you mean by that, Jeannie? Just so I understand it totally. Do you mean that I deserve to have this legally fixed or something else? Or do you mean that I deserve to protect my peace of mind? But there's also that part, as Chris alluded to, that, this could get worse, not better. I don't think so, because I think we're at the edge now. Because I've done everything that they want, and I've done it quickly and within their time frame and everything. I've always made sure of that. William James said, pessimism leads to weakness, optimism to power. So Jeannie's saying, I mean that you need to help so these people cannot keep taking advantage of you. Yeah, I need help. Yep. And Jody's saying it's about balance. Wishing well for others deserves wishing good things for yourself as well. Yeah, and I guess those of you who know me well are saying, what would Sal advise? And that reality has come to me a couple of times where I thought, what would I advise somebody else? And I probably would say, after 2 years of harassment, and you can prove it, take it to a lawyer. So, but what will it do to my heart rate? Each time I have to describe it again, I have to think about that. But I understand that. Marcus Aurelius again said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find great strength. So what if I could take it to a lawyer and not be upset by it? Right? What if I could just say, do me a favor, get these people off my back and get me whatever I deserve, preferably without having to go to court. Listen to Jeannie. Jeannie's saying this is not punitive. It's self-help. Yeah. And, I've threatened that I will need to take this further a number of times and not done it. And now that's why I think I might skip arbitration, which would be the easy route, and just go straight to my lawyer and say, okay, it's enough now. I've been patient, but thank goodness I kept notes all the way. And it's said that if you're positive, you'll see opportunities instead of obstacles. Well, the opportunity could be a whole different way of life. I don't know what 2 years of harassment would be seen as, and worse, in a court case, especially to somebody of my age. It's elder abuse, and somebody who wasn't given the right documentation, and somebody whose only fault was to query the boundary, all right, of something that visually was obviously completely different. Jody's saying I may be slightly biased, but I truly believe you have a strong case. Yep, it is what I believe as well, especially with the latest thing, which is we only are doing it to people who are a problem. That is absolutely, without a doubt, that means nobody else with the same situation is being asked to change their stuff. It is only me, because I had the temerity to ask for the legal thing. Targeted harassment, yeah. And that's the whole thing to me. It's like, up until this moment, it was a question. And by the way, I did something that I thought was quite interesting. The owner was there, and the owner was busy putting down marks down my property, with orange paint, that whole thing, putting down markers and orange around it. So there's no doubt I knew where the line was. And I said, how come the driveway went to there? How come my patio went all the way to there? How come, and I was asking the same questions again that I would continue to ask. And he said, because previous owners overstepped their right. And I said, so it had nothing to do with me. You're admitting that. This has nothing to do with me. This was previous owners. And when I bought the place, I had every reason to presume that that was because I was never given anything that said differently. You see, that's very strong. And he said, but it is what it is. And I said, but it's only happened to me. It didn't happen to the 3 owners before me because I was in touch with them. And it didn't happen to them. So therefore, it is because of me and this neighbor who doesn't like me. That is harassment. Anyway, so then he said, no, actually, it goes way back. We need to go way back to what was originally right. And when he said that, I said, hang on a second. I went inside and I got a document that his father had given out to tenants in the days when his father ran this community. And it made the case that I was entitled to use right the way. Not 6 feet, just that the last 3 feet should be kept clear. I got a document on the company letterhead. And I said, could you just look at this for a second and tell me your opinion? And maybe you need to discuss it with your daddy. I want to tell you, he almost went gray and he said, where did you get this? He said, that's not really relevant. You just need to know I've got it. You see, I made sure I didn't bring that out until he said we need to go way back. And this was wrong way back. And if it was wrong way back, why didn't they fix it for anybody else? Why me? Those are my issues, all right? And so that is why I can now prove it 2 times over that this is harassment. The neighbor doesn't like me. And they have sided on the side of the neighbor because they're buds with her. That's not right. I just said, hey, if you're doing this to me, I presume you're doing it to the other 100 units here. No, it's harassment. So I understand that. JD's saying, I can see you getting a lesser rent and a lot of money. Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I really would like to see what my lawyer thinks. And not because he needs my money, because I know it's not about that. That wouldn't be his issue. All right, or anything. You know, he would just go, Sal, don't bother to fight this. Get on with your life. All right. I mean, he would be, and I'll make sure that he knows I'm okay with that if that's what he thinks. But if he thinks this is insane, there's not a judge alive that wouldn't see this one for what it is, then I'd say, okay, then let's do whatever's necessary and keep me out of it as much as you can. So can you see it's up to me? The choice is mine. You know, it's the same thing as the viewer I was telling you about who had the drama in her house get invited back in again. She said, but my mom said she didn't have a choice. And I said, that is the lesson for your mom. She always has a choice. All right, so Jax is saying to me, in order to stand up for yourself, it doesn't mean that you're wishing them in ill will. You're setting your boundaries and not allowing them to take advantage of your property and life. It is their property. I rent the property. I own the house, but I rent the property on which it stands. Does that make sense, Jax? So I have use of their property, but the problem was, what bit of property do I'll explain it to you when I see you, because you'll be able to see it in reality. So, but it is still up to me whether I want to have a sense of humor about this or not. Can you feel that I've actually got quite okay with it at the moment? My only thing is the only decision I have is, do I want to take it to the lawyers? I'm pretty sure that if I take it anywhere, it's going to the lawyers, even if I had to lose, because I do feel very strongly about it. Now, I could take it to arbitration and get their ruling, and then if the arbitration rules for me, that means legally I'm correct, and then go to the lawyers and ask for recompense. for pain and suffering, which I can prove. Because I've got the documents of my heart rate whenever they do this to me. So, there's another possibility. Life is interesting, isn't it? I was saying to Jody, and I've said this discussion with her a number of times, which is, Jody, how many times in your life have you realized that whatever you are dealing with is there to teach you another lesson? Yeah. And Jax is saying to me, don't allow it to raise your heart rate. You can stay distance from the emotion it causes you. Jeannie's saying the same as I feel. Skip the arbitration, go straight to the lawyers now that you've got all the information you need. And I've got historical information that his daddy used to give out this site map that showed you exactly, both in words and in illustration, exactly what I was entitled to. And guess what? And that is why the driveway went to that level. That's why my garden went to that level. That's why my patio went to that level, because that was the correct level. Pretty interesting stuff. And I've held that document for quite a while I just thought, everything's gone quiet. I'm going to leave it for a while. And then it started up again. I go, okay, fine. If you're going to start it up again, then this goes differently. But the most important thing was I didn't give that document to the manager. I gave it directly to the owner and said, talk to your daddy. I think he will tell you otherwise. I don't know where you arbitrarily got the marker from that you've got. By the way, he made a point of letting me know that my back staircase, I've got a staircase out of my back door, goes 2 inches into my neighbor's property. But he said quietly to me, one-on-one, if it's not a problem for your neighbor, it's not a problem. But if I go take this to court, will it become a problem and I could lose my back staircase will need to be replaced? Yeah, that would be retaliation. Make sense? So was that why he told me? Maybe. I don't know. But hey, that's a risk I'm prepared to take. So when you look at your heart rate, look at how much we actually get to control it. I knew that was going to be a problem yesterday. On Wednesday, I knew that I would get upset, right? Because it was unfair. But they are upset because they think I'm being unfair. Fair enough. And listen to this. Karen Rinaldi said, we have to water the right seeds. And if we do that, we can shift our habit energy. That negative loop that contributes to our suffering in your mindfulness. So the question to me now is, as I read that, will it stop the drama if I take this to a lawyer? Will they learn that they were wrong and they had no right to do this to me? And maybe I get all of my driveway back and my garden back, and the neighbor gets told to be quiet. That the issue that the neighbor needs to have is with them, not with me. It's not my stuff. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared with what lies within us. You see, it's a good day, isn't it? How many of you agree it's a good day, right? I'm breathing. I'm feeling pretty amused. I am aware I have choices. I am aware that they're my choices to make, not anybody else's. I am aware that people love me dearly and will give me different information. And I am aware that I have done a lot of work to make sure that I have as much information as possible so that if I ever decide to go the lawyer route, or when I decide, that I will have the right information for them. And that I will be able to show the detrimental effect it has had on my way of life. And that to me was all worth waiting for. That to me was worth waiting for. You know what I mean? I didn't rush to judgment. I didn't rush to do this. I kept hoping they would be quiet. At one point, the manager was complaining about stuff, and I went, that was a year ago. That's not there now. Why are you talking about it? So, interesting. Interesting life is bringing me this. And as I said, I'm constantly fascinated with what is in my life because it's all there to teach me something. I think those people who've known me a long time will know that I'm not a wuss, in case you think that I should have gone the lawyer route long time ago. It's not that I'm a wuss. It's I need to make sure that it's worth the pain that it could cause. To make sure that it's worth the, what if I lose? How much will it cost me? And why do I think I might lose? Because there's nothing, remember what my lawyer told me, nothing is guaranteed in law except that the lawyers will make money. So, you have to think about that pretty hard and fast and be pretty sure that you're on the right track legally. And that's what I want to know. And that's why I will encourage the lawyers not to go to court. I will encourage the lawyers to please write a letter that tells them, legally you are screwed because of this, and this. And, they suggest this as an answer. They can fight that out until they both agree. And then we'll take it from there. We'll see. A disappointment is merely an assignment for your next appointment. Think about that. A disagreement is really an assignment for your next appointment. Do you understand? That's why I keep looking at my life and going, what's life bringing me now? And by the way, I will talk about this more tonight, but more microgreens. Look how they grew in a week. Huh? Look how they grew in a week. I am really, really excited about that. Yeah, Jeannie, I'm pretty certain. I'm pretty certain that the document that I have, especially when he said we need to go, and I will quote him, we need to go back to what was originally done. When he said that, I went, this is my moment. And I showed it to him. I said, I agree with you. Here it is. This is what your daddy gave to people and what I should have had when I signed on. What I want to know, though, and this is something that I want to check with the lawyers, who was meant to give that to me? Was it meant to have come from my realtor, or was it meant to have come and attached to my rental agreement when I rented the property on which my house stands? All right. So that's what I'm going to do, is get that sorted out. That's the one question I want to ask a lawyer. And when I get that, I'll say, okay, I'm not going after my realtor because she's a personal friend. I'll just suck that up and call it friendship. Because she did give me something, but it wasn't the document that I have that had the proper lines on it, right? So there we go. Interesting stuff. And I urge you all to be aware that everything in life is a lesson. Jax, would you agree that whether you wanted it or not, meeting me was a lesson? Jax, you didn't like me. When you met me, you didn't like me one little bit. And yet, look at the love. and I feel the love. And that has to be because somewhere in the depth of your mind, I made some sense to you. And I know that regardless of how you felt about me, you always, well, you know, you were always somebody that I thought about so often over the years and thought, gosh, what if I hadn't met her? You know, where would she, what would she be doing and where? And Jax, you had so much to teach me and still do, so much to teach me about people who struggle the way that you did. And to me, this is such a wonderful win-win. And I want you to know the same as I'm explaining to you. With all that I know and all that I understand, life still gives me problems. We are not people that don't have problems. And I check back, my sense of humor. I check back to see what my resting heart rate was when I was having a mastectomy. That when that was going on, it didn't push my heart rate the way that this thing does. Don't, yeah, something, Jax, I know that. She's offering to build me a new staircase if necessary. Yeah, and you know me well enough to know that I've got all the power tools and I can do it myself if necessary. But yeah, wouldn't it be fun to do it together? And what if I preempt it and just rebuild that staircase by 2 inches on principle? And then say, by the way, or, I really, I'm not worried. That to me is the least of my worries because that would show more vindictiveness. Yeah, and I want to tell you, Jax is not somebody you mess with. But I wouldn't let her near this because she would be like you, Jody. She'd get angry and she'd say what we don't need said in words that we both understand very well, all three of us. But Jax has little, unless she's changed a whole lot, I assure you. And by the way, she looks scary. She's got a look on her that would scare anybody, including me, for a while. And I just, it was funny because it was one of the things I said when I first met her was, I don't mind telling you, you scared me for a moment. And the way you were dressed scared me for a moment. You see, Jax was really good at pushing people away. And then I thought, no, anybody who does all of those things must have a good heart somewhere. And guess what? I found it. So that was wonderful. Yeah, Jody's saying, yes, you see, Jody's had her problems as well. I admit I had a fit on the phone with the transport company. I did apologize, but I let rip with them. Yeah, this is like, I love doing this when I talk to customer service people. I say, I am about to vent. This is not at you. I know you've got a job to do. I know what I'm about to say doesn't affect you, but I do need to vent because I need you to tell whoever needs to know just how I feel about this. I try not to punish the poor customer service person it's beyond their pay grade. So I go, I need to do this. So I'm going to sort of give you the rough idea and then tell me who do I need to write to? Because I'm angry. And not at you. Not at you. You're just doing your job. I understand that. So there we go, people. You understand what we were talking about. Two couple of things. Number one, where do we get our energy? Where do we get our energy? We get it through exercise, but we also get it through motivation. Where do we get the motivation? I thought it interesting, Jody, that you would probably agree with me that need is a very high motivator. When you needed to get into the truck, it became a high motivator. And we probably wouldn't think of it at that higher level until you start to really process it down. What was it that changed not being able to get into the truck to having to get into the truck? It was need, because the alternative was not acceptable to you. All right. And that would be that you needed this special thing and you didn't have the money for it. So that was, and and you just couldn't do it. Therefore, the need to get into the truck changed your ability to get into the truck. I thought that was really an interesting point. Yes. And Jody, thank you for mentioning that. Jody's mentioning a saying I had. And by the way, Jody, I said this to myself as well. If I gave you $1,000,000 to get into the truck, could you do it? In other words, I said that when I was doing the trench thing. I said, if they paid you $1,000,000 to dig this trench, you got 2 weeks to do it. Could you do it? And I went, yep. So therefore, Wade and Yvonne don't have to do it. You could do it slowly. And I'm going, yeah, but when they get here, they're going to want to do it for me. And I go, yep. But on the other hand, could you see it as a positive? Do you see the difference, Jody? I said, could you see digging this, getting these ties out as a positive? And I'm going, well, I've been doing the weight, so I know I've probably got the upper body strength. And as long as I do it slowly, I've got 2 weeks to do it. I have time. And I went, oh, that's good. And I get fresh air. And as soon as we finish this broadcast now, I will ask myself, is it raining? I'm not going to go out if it's raining. I don't want to catch cold. And Jody's going, you are a major motivation in my life, and I'm so thankful. Well, it goes both ways, people. All of you. All of you that have been here over the last 10 years or so, it's like, you understand, I don't do this in isolation. I don't do this because I got all the answers. I don't do this because my life is perfect. I do this because I know we are all going through it. And some of you were stunned that I went through the whole cancer scare and everything else the way that I did. I want to tell you, it caused me far less stress to lose part of my body than this legal issue. And that's the thing I need to look at as well. Why was losing a body part far less stressful for me? And the possibility that I still have cancer. Why is that at a different level from, and the answer is how it's done. How it's done. It's either done professionally and makes logical sense, or it's done viciously in some cases and makes no logical sense. And when it doesn't make any logical sense, you understand that drives me insane. And that's my problem. I am pretty certain my lawyer will say to me, why didn't you come to me immediately, Sal? Jody said, when I accomplish a difficult task, I get excited and I can't wait to tell you so. You are my cheerleader. Yes, I know what it takes for you to do things. Yeah, Jody, Jax is confirming. Hell yes. I liked you, but you scared me. I did say that. And, the funny thing was that was what she did. Oh, I scared you as well? Oh, that's so cute. Jax is saying, me too. I wouldn't be who I am today without you. Well, I believe we were sent into each other's life. I really do. And that's why you and Jody will get on very well. And, just so you know, Jax, when I first met Jody many years ago, she was dying. And that was my question to her. My question to her was, I hear you and I hear what you're telling me and I hear what you're saying. And what I'm hearing is that you are getting ready to die. Is that what you want to have happen? That was my 2x4. She was existing, but not living. That's what she's confirming. Yeah. And I just said, because I'll help you either way. Not help you die, but I will help you either way. I'll hold your hand either way. The same way, Jax, is you had a decision to make, which path are you going to take? You hit that incredible thing. It's called the crisis of commitment, where you're going down a path and you can see one way this way and one way that way. And that is a crisis of commitment. Which way do you choose to go? It is definitely nobody's choice but yours. And Jody is saying that question saved my life. All right. Whether do you want to die? Is that what you're doing? Because that is what you're doing, is what I said. You are busy talking yourself to death. But if you would like to live, I think I can help you. You know. And if you want to do more than just exist, I think I can help you. And so I look at it and I go, do you understand? I don't even have a crisis of commitment here. I have a choice. I'm going down this path. Has happened here. I can choose to go this way, or I can choose to go that way. And it's nobody's choice but mine. And I will make that choice based on what I believe will be the best outcome for me. Even if it upsets people, I will do it because that is it. And Jody is saying, and I love it. And here we are, 10 years later. Jax, how many years is it since I last saw you? It must be the same. And Jeannie's saying that God is amazing. Years ago, her mother was looking for a house cleaner. My dad phoned a person he was told would do it. He got the wrong number, but the woman became the house cleaner and a dear friend. Yeah, we never know. All right? I assure you, when I first laid eyes on Jax, I had no idea I was there to help her. Except I was there to help everybody. That was what I did. But, it was just like, I didn't realize how important that meeting was. And I certainly didn't ever expect her to believe me or trust me. And I still don't know why she did. It's just like, but I know she did. Why? Because of the outcomes. And even when she, made another step backwards, I reminded her that was just a choice, and she still had more choices to make, and it was up to her. You see, it's about when you know that friendship and caring is not about certain things. When you realize that, some things are meant to be. And that's why I'm absolutely horrified that Jax would think twice about contacting me with her problems. And Jody's saying in her house, Lionel, her husband, says the law, according what Sal says is law. No, it's not law. What Sal says is the law according to Sal. But, I do know that I am perfectly capable of being wrong. And people remind me of that regularly. And that's okay. And in fact, I said something wrong on Wednesday. I thought something had happened. They'd made a mistake on something, and they assured me they hadn't. And I said, then I am the first to stand here and in all humility say, I am so sorry. I got that wrong. Jax is saying, I really don't get angry anymore, honestly. Well, that is amazing. And Jody's saying, you've saved our bacon more than once. Yeah, and that's what friends do, isn't it? And look at this. All these years later, Jax is coming to help me. Oh, and she's saying, wait until I see you in person. You will be astonished. All right, the change. I'm certain. I followed your Facebook. And every now and then I catch up to see how you're doing. So it is, you haven't ever left my mind, Jax, just so you know. And I'm certain I've never really left yours either, because I'm unforgettable. So here we go, everybody. Remember that really what the heart's about is love. And when you know that that is the place it's meant to be, then anytime we put it into the fear side, then you're misusing your heart. Would that make it easy? So when I'm doing exercise, I'm loving my heart. And Jax is saying, pushing people away was my speciality until I met you. And you allowed me and helped me to come into the person I am today. I think that's called a topper, Jax. You don't top a topper. All right, that's what you learn. If somebody says something as profound as that, you don't do anything else. This is Dear Mama Soul saying, remember where the heart is. And remember, if I go to the lawyers, it won't be out of vindictiveness. It will be because I tried really hard not to do it. I tried really hard not to do it. You all know that. Even against all the criticism and everything else. But there comes a time when enough is enough. And especially now that I'm struggling with other issues that I didn't have before. And so I choose to put my heart in the right place. And as you so rightly said, I also choose to defend it. And I will not be driven out of my home by bullies. That's, because that is what they want to do. And I will not do that. I am here to enjoy my time. And I get as a huge reward to re-meet Jex. How many of you can see it's when I saw that name, I went, I know that name. I went, is it possible there are two people with that name in the world? And it just, it was just, are you the same one that I know? As we said, we never know who's listening to the broadcast. And maybe even the people that are involved in this are listening to it. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, life teaches us lessons all the time. That's all that life is about. Tonight, we will be dealing with all sorts of things. And I thought for a change, we'd bake a cake. Not my speciality at all. But I wanted to, and I'll explain why. And we will also discuss, obviously, some other ways that I've noticed of saving money. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for putting your heart in the right place. And most of all, please remember to protect your heart in all the ways necessary. Keep it in the right side, the side of love. And even if it crosses over in a moment of weakness, get it back there as fast as possible. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, great to see you all again. And Jax, what a privilege. So happy to hear that I'm going to see you in person and give you a hug. You are the only person here that knows what one of my hugs feels like. How about that? It's a bit lopsided now, Jax, but you can handle that. This is Dear Mama Sal saying bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody.